Notes here, we are going to be talking about 3-6, congruent and vertical angles. Alrighty, so congruent angles. Two angles are congruent if they have the same degree measure. Okay, so they have to have the same degree measure. Alrighty, so what that means here is, let's say our angle 1 has the degree of 12 degrees, and angle B also has 12 degrees. We know that the measure, so we have here 12 degrees equals 12 degrees. We know that then each of them, we can label them as the measure of angle A equals the measure of angle B. Because we know that they are equal, we can then say their picture, right, their pictures are congruent. Remember we talked about congruent. We can identify that as a tick mark in there to show that, and I suggest when you guys do these problems on your own to also include those tick marks. Okay, so we have here vertical angles. Vertical angles are one of your BFFs. So you actually have three BFFs, and we only have two of them right now. So one of our BFFs is vertical angles, and the other is our linear pair. These are going to be ones where when you get stuck in a problem and you don't know where to go, it's probably one of your BFFs, vertical angles or linear pair. So here, a vertical angle is two angles that are formed by the intersection of two straight lines. So it has to be two straight lines. It cannot be lines on an angle or whatever it is. They have to be two straight lines. So we have here this picture where we have two straight lines are intersecting. If we have that, we know vertical angles are congruent. Okay, so they will be congruent to each other. So we have here, when two lines intersect, four angles are formed. Therefore, the measure of angle 1, so this angle here, will be congruent to angle 3. I didn't mean to say measure, I just meant angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. And then we have angle 2. Angle 2, notice I put two tick marks there because I'm talking about a different angle, is going to be congruent to angle 4, right? And those are vertical angles. So let's go ahead and do an example here. So which angles form a linear pair? Oh, okay, so linear pair, right? They are adjacent and they form that straight angle. So a linear pair we have here with angle ABC, angle ABC. All right, so we actually have two that we can say, right? So we can either say CBD or we can go ahead and do ABE. So I'm going to put here angle CBD, or we have angle ABE. All right, the next question is saying here which angle is a vertical angle to DBE. So DBE, okay, vertical angle here. So DBE, we know that it would have to be the opposite, right? Now I don't want to say opposite, but I'm just going to say opposite. So we have here DBE, so then we have CBA. So angle CBA would be the vertical angle. Remember, it's the opposite angle. When they're vertical and they're intersecting from two lines intersecting there, it's going to be across from it. So which angle is a vertical angle to ABE? So ABE, oh, well, we know that it's going to be here, CBD. Right, so those two would be congruent. So let's put here angle CBD. Now, a little bit more into this problem, we're given that angle ABE is 40 degrees, which means these two we know are congruent to each other, so CBD is also 40 degrees. We can also then say, if we already know that these two here, so CBD, so CBD is a linear pair with CBA, right? That angle there. We can say that this one is 140 degrees. How can we say that? Well, we know that if we go ahead and do the measure of angle CBD, that's a D there, plus the measure of angle CBA, that'll equal 180 degrees because it's a linear pair. So if we put 40 here plus the measure of angle CBA equals 180, subtract 40, we will go ahead and get 140 degrees. All right, couple examples here. So it says find the measure of the angle. All right, so we have the measure of angle CED. So the measure of angle CED, that's what we need to look for. So CED, oh, well, look at that. We know that we have line AC and line BD are intersecting, which gives us vertical angles. So we can say that this angle here is 52 degrees. So we have vertical angles. All right, then the next one we have here is find the measure of angle ABC. So ABC, ooh, this guy here. All right, so this one's a little tricky because we are given two angles, but we don't know this one, right? So that makes it a little tricky. And we also don't know this one, so that makes it a little tricky. So there are a couple things that we could actually do. We do know that, all right, so this is going to be like option number one. So number one way we can do it is I know that these two here are going to be vertical angles because we have lines intersecting. So this is going to be 77 degrees. I also know that DBC is going to be a vertical angle to GBF. So that's going to make this 34 degrees. So we can do 77 degrees plus 34 degrees to get what angle ABC equals. And that's going to be 111 degrees. Number two, the other way that we can go about doing this problem is, well, we know that this here is a linear pair. So we can do 30, let me rewrite this. The measure of angle ABG plus the measure of angle GBE equals 180 degrees, and we know that 77 plus 34 is 111 degrees equals 180. Measure of angle ABG plus this. Subtract that over. The measure of angle ABG equals 69 degrees. Then we can go ahead and say if this is 69 degrees, and we know this here is a linear pair, we can go ahead and do 180 minus 69 degrees, which is 111, which you would notice we're like going in circles here of things that we already know, right? So this way here, using the vertical angles makes it 100 times easier to do it, but you also have the back out routes where you can go in this direction and kind of working with what we've already learned. So we know this is 111 degrees. Example 6, this actually should be, let's make this a 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, so in this example here, we need to find the measures of all of those other angles. We know that this angle is 40 degrees. Okay, now we know that here, angle 7 is actually the vertical angle, so we can say that angle 7, the measure of angle 7 is also 40 degrees, right? This is the vert angle, the vertical angles. So if this is 40 degrees, we'll use that. We do know, ooh, this is a big one here, that this angle is a right angle, so that means that it's equal to 90 degrees. Okay, so we can use that to help us. So if we go ahead and look, if that's 90 degrees, we also know that this is 90 degrees. So we can do 90 degrees minus 40 to get this one here. So the measure of angle 5 is going to be 50 degrees. Okay, if we know that this is 50 degrees, and I'll get that in there, okay, and we know, and there's a whole lot going on here. So if we're looking at, and I'm going to erase some things that I have written actually, so I'm going to just put here, we know this is 50 degrees, this is 90 degrees. Okay, so if we know that that is 90 degrees, this here, I can put a right angle. And then I also know if I'm looking just at this here and this, that's also a linear pair. So this angle here is also going to be 90 degrees. So angle 6 is 90 degrees. Then left over we have the measure of angle 8. The measure of angle 8 we know is a vertical angle to angle 5, so we can say that is also 50 degrees. Okay, next example here, this is solving for x. So we have two lines intersecting, so those two angles are vertical angles. Okay, so then here I'm going to go ahead, I can set them equal, right, because they're congruent to each other, but I know when I have things congruent, I can also write them equal. So we have here 105 equals 2x plus 5. I'm subtracting 5. So we have 100 equals 2x. X equals 50. 50 degrees. Beautiful. Okay, next example here. This is a tricky problem just because there's so much going on. We need to find what x equals and what y equals. And y just somehow shifted down there. So don't worry about where the placement it is physically right now in this example. So here we know that these two have y's in it. These two here have x's in it. So taking a look, I can't go ahead and do y minus 12 plus 6x minus 32 equals 180 because we have two different variables. But what we can do is 6x minus 32 plus 2x minus 20, minus 20 equals 180 degrees. We can also then go ahead and do, so this is our x's, and then for our y's, we can also do y minus 12 plus 3y minus 8 equals 180 degrees as well. So here, I can go ahead and solve for x and for y. So taking a look here, when we go ahead and solve for x, I'm going to combine our like terms. So we'll have 8x minus, and let's see here, that's going to be a minus 52 equals 180. I'm going to add 52 over. So then we'll have 8x equals 232. When I divide, x will equal 29. All right, our next example here, I'm going to combine our y, so that's going to be a 4y minus 20 equals 180. I'm going to add 20 over. So then we have here 4y equals 200, and then y will equal 50 over here.